Hello and welcome. I'm Ray from the Norfolk Beekeeping Experience, and today we're going to do another video in my Beekeeping Fundamentals video series. Now this particular video is aimed more at beginners, and I'm going to show you how I build a Hoffman self-spacing super frame with wired foundation. Now if you're building a brood frame, it's exactly the same principles, but the brood frame is a little bit bigger. Now, the Hoffman self-spacing frame is probably, as a new beekeeper, what you're going to be using. 99% of the beginner beekeepers in Britain go for the style of hive called a national, and they go for the frames called a self-spacing frame, often referred to as a Hoffman frame. And this is what I'm going to show you how to build. Right, so let's go through the tools that we're going to need. We're going to need a Stanley knife. We're going to need a tack hammer. Now we're going to need a pencil, but by the time you've built 5 or 6 frames and you've got the knack, you won't need a pencil. And we're going to need a pair of narrow point pliers. Sometimes the nails bend and you need to take them out and remove them or straighten them. Or if you've got big sausage fingers and you can't hit the nails without hitting your fingers, you can hold the nails with the pliers. Now there is one option. You can also glue the frames together. And if you're going to do that, you're going to need exterior grade PVA. I use Evo Stick or a product called Tight Bond, but they have to be the exterior grade ones. Now I'm not going to use the I'm not going to use the Evo Stick today. I would normally use Evo Stick, but today I'm not going to bother, but I will show you where I would put it. Okay, so we've got the components of our Hoffman frame. So you've got 2 sidebars, and each sidebar has a groove down one side. When you assemble your frames, you're going to put them grooves so that they face each other. You've got 2 bottom bars, and they're bottom bars for the bottom. And you've got 1 top bar. But the top bar has something on it called the wedge. And the wedge, you just break off, give it a few little wiggles and break it off. But when you break it off, you normally get little chamfers of wood, and they need to be removed. And that's what the Stanley knife's for. Oh, itchy nose. So get your Stanley knife, and working away from you, just get rid of them burrs. Yep, that's pretty decent. Put the wedge to one side and then do the same on there. And you just need to get rid of them burrs. Take your time doing this because it's quite an important stage. I think my blade's a bit blunt. I know I said working away from you, you never saw that. So once you're done with your Stanley knife, pop the blade back in. That's all you're going to need that for. Right, so next thing's next. Get your 2 sidebars, make sure that the grooves are facing each other, and pop them in there. Just pop them down. Then get a bottom bar and slide it in there. And you just want to make sure that the bottom bars are flush on the edges. So you've now got a loosely assembled frame. You've got the side bars in and they're flush there and there, and you've got the bottom bars in and they're roughly flush there and there. What I should say is that the top bar has, sorry, the side bar, one side of it's pointy and the other side of it is flush. So when we go to put the nails in a moment, you put on the flush side, you put the nails straight down, and on the pointy side you're going to put it in at an angle. So straight in for the flush side, at an angle for the pointy side. So get yourself a couple of these little tiddly nails. Their proper name is a gimp pin, and these are going to be 15mm long. So they're gimp pins and they're 15mm long. So I always start on a flat edge. I've got little girl's fingers, so I don't tend to need to. But if you've got big fat fingers, you can hold the little nail with your pliers. And that saves you hitting your fingers 1,000 times. So that's both flat sides now nailed in. So the next thing to do is get another gimp pin and do the angled sides. Now don't forget to put the nail in at an angle. And again, for those of you with big sausage fingers, you can hold the nail with the pliers. Don't forget to hold it at an angle. Get it started. And tap it in. And that's 2 nails that side, 2 nails that side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put 2 nails on the bottom bar on the same side. So we'll just tap them down, make sure they're all the way down, and just check the edge, make sure they're roughly flush. And again, tap a nail in there. And again, if you've got sausage fingers, use the pliers, hold it with the needlepoint pliers. I find this harder, but like I say, I've got little girl's fingers. Now, at this stage, the textbooks would tell you to put the nails in the other side. I don't, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes you'll get foundation, and you'll get your foundation from one place and you'll get your frames from the other, and there'll be a millimetre or so difference. So if the foundation is too big for the frame, you can cut it down, or you can adjust the frame because it's loose, and it's the same vice versa. Right, just let me go and get a sheet of foundation. I should have really had this at the beginning of the video, but I'm not a professional. Right, so you've got your sheet of foundation. Now this is standard wired foundation, and this is a super size. And what you'll find is that you've got 2 wire loops on one edge and 3 wired loops on the other. So what you're going to do, you're going to put the 3 wired loops downwards. Take your time, don't rush. And just before you get to the bottom, you need to fold the wire loops 90 degrees. So that when they go down, they fit down onto that wedge nicely. I'll just come and show you that. So we folded the wires so that they've come down, and we've bent them to 90 degrees so that they sit on the bottom edge, so that when you put your wedge bar on, they sit nicely over there. Right, the next thing to do is, I don't know if you can see that, that's got a bit of play left and right. That's not too much, but I like it to be a little bit tighter than that, and that's why I didn't put the nails in that side. So what I'll do, I'll just give this a very slight tap. No, that's still a little bit loose for me. We're talking a millimetre. Ah, now that is so much better. You've got a little bit of movement, which is fine, but for me it had just a fraction too much. Now, I know these frames came from Simon the Beekeeper, and I know that the foundation didn't come from Simon the Beekeeper. So even though it all should be an exact size, it never is. So I'm happy that that's fine. So we'll now put the other 2 nails in. Like I say, all the textbooks would have told you to put these nails in when you was assembling it before you put the foundation in. Now, if you do find the nail starting to bend over a little, which this one is, just get your pliers, straighten it out, and continue. Pick up another nail, so that's that with your nails in. Right, it's now time to get your wedge bar. This is where the pencil comes in. So what we're going to do, we're going to put the wedge bar there, and we're going to get the pencil, and we're going to mark the middle of each loop and draw a line. So I don't know if I can, oh yeah, I can show you that. So you've got your pencil line there, and that is pretty much in line with the middle of the wedge. So that when we put the nail in, the nail is going to go through the middle of the loop, and it's going to hold the foundation really nicely in place. So I'll just pop the nails in. I'll show you this in a moment. I can't do this backwards. So what I've done is I started my nails in the bar, but I didn't have the bar, or the wedge, sorry, on the frame. I just started them away from the frame because it's easier. So I just put the frame down and I lined the nails up like that. Hopefully you can see that. And just started them. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back to the bench. I'm going to put the bar or the wedge back on, and then I'm going to finish tapping them nails in. Now when you've done a few of these, you won't need to draw the lines, you'll just know. And that's it. That is as easy as that. And we've taken our time, we've marked things, we've got the nails in nice, we've not rushed, and we've got the foundation so that it's in the frame really nice and secure. It's not wavy, it's not loose. The bees are going to love that. If you get the foundation in and you don't take your time, you'll find the bees doing all kinds of strange drawings on them. They'll draw it to the side, they'll do wonky comb, burr comb. It's worth taking your time just to make a nice job, because it will pay for itself time after time after time. Now, if you want to glue them together, you would, prior to putting everything in, you would use your wood glue and you'd put a little bit of glue, accident, and you'd put a little bit of glue just where you put the frames together. Any questions? Just ask in the comments and I'll answer them for you. Hopefully that's helped you out a little bit, but it's pretty straightforward and you'll be making the frames up in no time at all. Now what I will do, I will give a little caveat. I don't put the wax in until I'm ready to put them into the hive. So I assemble them, but I leave the wedge in place and I only put 2 nails in the bottom bar. So I've left the wedge in, I put 2 nails in the bottom bar, but I nail all the top bars, and then when I'm ready to put them into the hives, I then put the foundation in. Because what I do, I keep all my foundation in its original packaging so that it stays nice and supple and it's not hanging around for months before it goes into the hive. So I always don't cut the wedge off until I'm ready to put the wax in, and I don't put the final 2 nails in the bottom bar until I'm putting the wax in as well. But you can quite happily just build it up and store them. Now, if you do that and you find that the bees aren't taking to it, because sometimes it dries out a little bit, there's 2 methods to help you overcome that. You can get a hairdryer and you can, from a good distance away, just very slightly warm the wax up. You're not looking to melt it, you're just looking to warm it up, and that will give the wax just a little bit of a sheen and make it pliable again. Now the other thing you can do, if you don't want to do that, is you can get some sugar syrup, 1-to-1 sugar syrup, and you can spray with a little hand sprayer just a couple of squirts of 1-to-1 sugar syrup on there, and that will encourage the bees to draw it again. But to save you having to do both of them things, just wait till you're ready to put them into the hive before you put the wax in, and you won't have to do any of that. Anyway, any questions? drop some comments and I'll answer each and every one of them. Thanks for taking the time to watch. I've been Ray from the Norfolk Beekeeping Experience, and that was another beekeeping fundamental.